Hello, hello. Hello, hello.
Hey, what's up, man?
How you doing, man?
Good.
Awesome. How's your day been?
Been good. Been working and just got off a conference call about 20 minutes ago, so it worked out good.
Good. Well, not an overly stressful day that leaves you hating life and exhausted mentally. Kind of still got a little bit of mental energy, I hope.
That's right. Day's just beginning for me. I got lots of mental energy left.
Fantastic. Good. That's what I like to hear, man. It's always hard, I think, learning new StarCraft things. If you've had a really kind of long day already, you've had a really hard workout, a stressful day at work, etc., etc., it all kind of stacks up, and we're like, man, I've only got so many, I don't know, imaginary mana points, I guess, to to spend on using my brain for the rest of today. So it's good going into it fresh, man. All right, so good job writing down those questions, by the way, and stuff. As you just said, do we want to watch replays even if you think you see the majority of the problem? That could be super useful. Obviously, if there's a replay where it's like, I don't know what to do, and it pertains exactly to one of those questions you wrote, that's even better. But even if it's one where you think you've got a good idea of what's going on, we can always just help improve your process and like just get a little bit more specific and that sort of stuff. So I reckon, whichever replays you think
I have
the
two.
yeah.
I have two, and one I know like I can see I just sucked at something really bad in it. And then the second one, I was just actually genuinely lost on what to do.
Wow,
It
awesome.
was a
That's
game I should have. Yeah, it was a game I should have won. I feel I just didn't know what the heck to do.
why don't we start with the one where you think you knew what to do actually. Let's go that way. So start the one where you're like, oh, I think I just did this really bad. And let's like, you know, let's go deep on exactly, how you break that down and then how you come up with a plan for that, right? Because one of the things with StarCraft is there's so many little execution details. So even when we know what we need to improve on, if we don't really give ourselves the mental energy to sit there and just focus on it and really kind of look at the exact details, it can still take us a really long time to get from kind of knowing overall, oh man, I need to have better injects. That is the most important thing, right? Imagining that's the thing you've identified. And then actually doing it, there can be like this huge delay, and that's really frustrating for us as a player because you're like, I know I need to get better injects. Why aren't I fucking injecting better? And it's easy to get a bit frustrated, right? So, I mean, talk us through this replay. I'm steering right now, but
You
I'll let
you
time speed it, and I'll let you tell me what happens in it.
So in this game, I felt like I did a good job at doing the stuff I've been working on for the opening and the early game and defending, and everything was going good. And then I just couldn't break them, and I didn't have end it to keep remassing, and I get stuck with like 3K bank, and I'm just like far behind my inject spell. I don't know if I should be adding like just throwing down 3 macro hatches and saying screw it, you screwed up, but this is what you got to do to get that larva. I don't know, but
How many macro hatches are you normally going for?
I usually get the one, and I don't actually even remember if I got it in this game or not, but I usually get the one when I take my fourth.
I mean, we've seen in the past that we do sometimes struggle to spend our money, and the thing is, like, I really don't think there's a problem with going to macro hatches. So why don't we just make it a second macro hatch as standard? I doubt that's like really the big issue, but that's just an easy middle ground. It's 300 minerals. We don't care about 300 minerals when we've got 3 mineral lines up so fast, right? So
Yeah.
cool. But you said so there was a point where you felt like you were ahead, you were in control, but you couldn't finish the game.
I
Okay,
got
cool.
up I got up to like, the 70 plus drones, 4 plus bases. I'm on more bases than him. I got things kind of going the way I want it to go,
Yeah.
and he has more army than me every fight. So I was like, what? Like obviously I'm missing something because things felt like it went the way it was supposed to, and then didn't.
Okay, so we felt like this game went the right way, but he
Which I could be
outnumbered
totally
us.
wrong about, but that's how it felt.
Okay. So I mean, there's a few possible options, right? Maybe the armies were actually equal or okay, but you took really bad fights. Maybe he actually just has a way bigger army. Let's assume he actually has the bigger army for now. Okay. I mean, what do you think? What's the first thing you think needs to be kind of checked to see? Okay, I thought this game went pretty my way. What do you go back and look at to kind of examine that?
Probably need to look at the injects, see if I got way behind on a few, and then as well as if I actually either even added a queen to my fourth, because I'm not sure that I did.
I
Fighting
personally
starts.
never
Yeah.
inject on a fourth base myself. With your inject method, I believe, if I remember correctly, let's take a look at your control groups here.
Just using camera hotkeys.
Yeah, so you don't really need to inject on a fourth ever, even with this style. If you can remember to dump extra injects from your extra queens onto your macro hatch and your fourth base. Now, that's something which is quite important though. Do you remember that kind of marker ever?
Sorry, which marker?
Where you can, when your fourth base and your macro hatch comes up, your creep queens will have a lot of extra energy usually, and you can queue up tons of injects all
Oh,
at
I get
once
you. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, okay.
on the fourth and macro hatch. So that's like a really nice thing, which makes a big difference. So you said, okay, injects. In general, injects definitely is something, but there's a lot of other things, right? With injects, you also, I mean, it's your macro in general, right? Did we get our economy up fast enough and then convert that economy into army, right? Is what we're getting at when you said look at injects. So what's another way you can very quickly in a replay jump back and check that your build order went good for you?
Probably either drone amount timings or extra larva all the time.
Absolutely. So can you remember off the top of your head any drone benchmarks that we can check here in this
I'm
replay?
trying to be around 40 at 4, 50 at 5, and then at like 620, I'd like to be at that 60 to 66.
Sorry, can you say those again?
I'm thinking like 4 minutes around 40 drones, and then like 5 minutes around 50, and then just past the 6 minute mark, probably supposed to be between 60 and 66 drones.
Okay, cool. So those are not bad benchmarks. So here's my alternate ones, which are just very slightly different, okay? So I'm going to put in bold here what I would say. I would say examine overall macro as a whole and check benchmarks. And my benchmarks are just slightly different, but same vein. So also just going to write down that note about queens. Creep queens dump tons of inject into fourth base and macro hatch. Turn them into automatic lava fountains. I like that idea. I like to think of them as just little volcanoes that just produce lava for us. We've kind of secured the fountain of extra lava mana, something like that, on the Warcraft map, and it's going to do its shit for us. So in terms of benchmarks, so my benchmarks that I actually like to look for, now the reason these ones are actually just a little bit better in my opinion, and we're doing the 30 seconds after. And the reason for that is 8 drones on third base, 5 minutes 30, 16 drones on third base. Now, these are my two biggest benchmarks because they tell us, are we making use of the minerals on that third base as quickly as possible? And that's the most important thing with your build order, because you're doing a rule of one gas kind of build order still, right? Sorry, your mic cut out there?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I am.
Yeah. No worries. I caught like the very end of a sound. I'm like, I think that was a yes, but no worries. Awesome. All right, so let's double check those two benchmarks, and these are the best benchmarks for you to go back and double check in your games. And you can do this against Protoss to some extent as well. Obviously, it's like different benchmarks, but looking at how quickly we make use of that third, and you can kind of compare it to the Terran's economy as well. That's always a little bit different depending on how good the SCV production is, yada yada. But so we go 4 minutes 30. We can see you actually got plenty of drones. Your drone count's not bad at all, but we just haven't got them over on that third yet. Now, your third was slightly delayed by a Reaper and an SCV blocking it early. But we really do, from the moment it's finished, we want to have those workers over on it. Because what time did that finish? That finished, I think, about 4:10, something like that. All right, let's go.
Yeah, so whereas I'm panicking and thinking I don't want to let them get annihilated by those Hellions, but just move them over and learn to defend it.
Yeah, so what's really good there is if you've got 2 drones on it and those Hellions come in, they can kill those 2 drones, and that seems shit. Now, there's really advanced things you can do. Build a spore crawler, build an extractor to save them, right? But it's just 2 drones. It's not the end of the world. The most important thing is if we're defending correctly, we should have queens out front hitting those Hellions the whole time. So they're going to lose a lot of hit points. And if we've got our 6 Zerglings still alive, which hopefully we would, then they're going to surround those first 2 Hellions, or at least damage them and maybe kill them as well, which is really good because it shuts down their ability to get to a real scary Hellion count. And by the time they get up to about 4 Hellions, 6 Hellions being able to die, if we want to go up to those safety Zerglings. So if we look at our previous coaching session, what did we write? Do you have a timing to build extra Zerglings for safety?
I don't think I do. I think
Go scroll down your build order. I found it. I'm making it bold and unbold. It is on the 3rd page.
See it there, yeah. At 4:30, you said?
Yeah. So basically, about 4:30 was the kind of generic timing we came up with, but that was something we mentioned. We do want to make sure that's something we're somewhat flexible on. Okay, so if someone's super in your face with Hellions that feel just a bit earlier than normal, we may build those Zerglings a little bit earlier, right? Like if someone's really like, whoa, or if they're even engaging our first queen that's out front and picking her off with good micro, we might need to pull those other 2 queens down just a little bit earlier, right? And kind of swap them from injecting queens to defense queens, etc. There's always, occasionally you'll play a Terran who goes gas first, gets his Hellions out, doesn't miss a beat, rallies them across. What you've got to understand is that costs a shitload of money from the Terran build. So let's go take a look at the Terran's base. Something you want to understand is if you play against a Terran player who non-stop builds Hellions as fast as possible, there's no way he's going to have a 3rd command center finishing at 4 minutes like your opponent's got here. Okay. So technically your opponent could have 4 Hellions and a Reaper if he was a pro gamer at your base, and they could be diving in right now. And that's scary, right? You're never going to play against that because even if someone is focusing on Hellion production, they're just not going to be that perfect with their build, right? So there's always a give and take where if the Terran's like non-stop Hellions, it's always okay to commit a little bit more to defense, and that's where some flexibility lies. This is something to keep in the back of our brain. This is something we only want to think about when we're like, dude, I just got ravaged by Hellions when I was doing my normal thing. You check, did you do your normal defense perfectly? I did, and I still got ravaged. Okay, now maybe this was a situation where I should have been a bit more flexible and adapted to something. But most of the time, you'll get away with the standard. So let's go back to that standard setup. And I think the biggest thing we're going to get out of today, by the way, is trying to make sure we've got more of these internal checklists for different phases of the game. So this early on, you've got some pretty good Overlord positioning. I would actually have them a little bit further back. So you're really enjoying putting them on the high ground. All 3 matchups, it's actually not really important to do that because there's not much that shoots up in the early game for any of the 3 races. So this one down to the bottom is okay. But even there, we won't see Hellions if they come around the bottom side and dart into our natural. So it's just a little bit bare. The problem with the one on the top is we don't even see if the Hellions rotate up into there.
Sure.
So we want to have that just sitting right in the center out front, the 3rd, and right in the center out front, the natural ramp. So we've got plenty of vision to see ahead of time, Hellions are going that way, and our queens move up and are always there to intercept. And it's something in between macroing as hard as we can. The Hellions are rotating back to the natural. So we're just bouncing the Hellions, the queens, between the 2 entrances. And our Zerglings, can you imagine where the Zerglings would be set up? It starts with just your 4 or 6 lings from the early game. Later, it'll be about 16 Zerglings. Where do you keep those?
I usually keep them by my natural. Like behind my queens.
Absolutely, behind the queens, right? So, I mean, sometimes they need to come up and defend the 3rd as well. Kind of depends on the map and the positioning a little bit. Sometimes I'll maybe have half of them spread just in front of my natural hatch, half just in front of my 3rd or something, but kind of depends map to map a little bit. And generally, if they try to run in, obviously you run all your lings kind of in front of those Hellions and just try to be the net that catches them before they get in your worker line while your queens are dishing out damage on them. What's really cool is when you start doing this adequately, the Terran player feels really shit. So the Terran player will actually experience, and I'm on his camera right now, he's going to rotate with his Hellions to this north side, and queen's already hitting him. He's like, whoa, okay, pull back. Goes to the south side. 2 seconds later, queen's already there hitting his Hellions. He's like, what the fuck? And he feels like he can't scout. He can't slow down your creep. He can't exert pressure. And if he does, it's much more an all or nothing move. He's got to dive in and throw those Hellions away. And I think just a little bit of empathy for like the Terran player and the kind of pressure that we put on him simply by making it so much harder for him to do all that little poking with the Hellions it's incredible. It really changes the pace of the early Zerg versus Terran, and it starts getting him second-guessing himself a little bit and not being as all over you. Whereas in a game like this, you'll notice our queens weren't really kind of getting out in front. And by this point, you know, we would have wanted to have probably hopefully about 7 or 8 queens, like, you know, 3 queens out front. And our creep's not really out front our third and stuff. But imagine if he came back here and our queens were like out front, they're hitting him, three or four queens hitting those Hellions. They try to dive past, your Lings just wrap around. It's this real shutdown where they're like, shit, man, my Hellions aren't doing anything. And that's what it should be. Because this guy's gone a really fast third command center with no starport units to harass you. A single Viking to clear out an Overlord or 2. And he's just going mega macro. 1-1 upgrades, lots of barracks, going into the tank production. So he does not deserve any damage or real pressure. So if we can get that down, that standard bit of defense, we will shut him out of this early game.
Done.
Awesome, man. So in terms of the saturation, if we check those benchmarks, I still think you're doing okay. Did we transition to the third a bit slow? Yeah, very slow. So we did miss out a bit of mining. But overall, your worker count looks okay. You've got a spore in each base. Your queen count, whilst didn't build quite as fast as I would have liked, is not bad. You squeezed an Overlord speed in, which I'm always a little bit iffy about. I'm always a little bit like, we don't probably need that, but I'm okay with it. It's fine. But let's take a look at this next few minutes, because you said, okay, you felt like you got in a decent position. And let's see what happens. So I see a lot of minerals floating here and nothing on the production tab. And we haven't done
supply block, and I didn't have any extra Overlords.
And we didn't notice the supply block for about 30 seconds there as well.
Yeah.
And then we start building Zerglings, but we haven't finished droning. And then we start. Okay, cool. When was this game played?
Like 4 days ago. 3 days ago, maybe.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. So, this is the same as kind of what we saw in your coaching session. You have a freeze up point where your mental checklist freezes at this point every game when you play this build. So this is the point where we need you to find rhythm. So let's try and... There's always a point
I don't
where
know
you just,
when the layer, the Hydrotech, like I don't know when the Evos. So it's like I have it memorized up till then, and then I'm like, okay, shit, now I'm kind of free spitting here.
Okay, cool. Well, that's really important, because if you can identify any moment where you're not sure what you should be doing, you're always going to fall apart like this. You're just going to freeze up because there's too much like, oh, should I do that? Should I do this? There's too much decision making, right? And our you know, there's always the one guy who's like, this isn't a real strategy game. You don't want to make decisions on the fly. It's like, shut up, random guy in chat. The decisions are higher level than what order do our structures go down with a standard build, okay? That's like the lowest level of strategy. Take your shit tier strategy out of here, mate.
Oh,
we can adjust that once we get good at our basics, but we need this to be automatic first of all, right? We need our baseline to be good. So you've got to refine that. We've got to come up with a rule. So you're droning, you've got an order, you've got your build. You're quite well refined. Have I pointed out details? Yeah, you could get your queens up slightly faster. Your overlords could be positioned slightly different. Your queens could be at the front. These are minor details. But in terms of the core build, this is the biggest thing, right? So, I mean, what is the order from here? And you said, well, I don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
But you've got build orders, you've got build order notes written down, and you've got your own way of solving it. And this is the thing is, there isn't necessarily about, do we have to do it the right way here? The more important thing is if we can just make a really confident decision and say, I'm going to do it exactly this way and start grinding that, we will improve so much faster simply because we know what we're doing. Because the problem isn't you doing the wrong thing, it's you doing nothing. At this there's a 2-minute portion here where you freeze up and you play a lot slower than when you know what you're doing. I see you play way faster, way more efficiently, right? So this is not the Ryerson, the Spartacus that I'm used to seeing. So it's not saying, oh, you're too slow. It's, we need to just have a clear goal, a clear set of goals. So, I mean, what do you think to start with? I mean, first of all, I mean, I'm going to start looking through your document, but maybe off the top of your head, you've got some ideas of how you can order what you do from the point of droning 3 bases?
What I was doing, but I just didn't know if it was right, is I was throwing down my Bane nest around, the 4-minute mark, and my lair. As soon as lair was done, I was throwing down Hydroden and Evos at the same time, but I think I just stopped doing that consistently because it wasn't it to work, so I didn't know if I was just doing it wrong.
Is this wrong? Question mark. Okay. So we haven't answered everything else though, right? So you've mentioned a couple of text structures which seem to be confusing you a little bit. But what about your gas timings? When do you take gases?
That's another thing. I don't have a timing for when I add all 6 there. Against Protoss, I kind of know when I'm doing it. You know, it's as soon as around that 345 mark, I go roached in, layer, 2 extra gas. I don't actually know when to add it in for Ling Bane Hydra.
Okay, so this is absolutely what you're doing is a rule of 1 gas build. It is all about literally we hit 3 base saturation and then we bam take all the gases all at once or all around the same time. And there's even a specific little technique with our rally points we often do for that, where basically what we do, if you go to open the stream up quickly,
First,
just so you can see from my point of view while I explain it. Obviously, be a very slight delay, but only a few seconds. Get the stream open?
Yep.
Okay, so the marker.
I gotta watch your ad.
God damn it, Twitch.
My subscription apparently ended like.
No worries, man.
And in a while.
Even Twitch Prime subs don't block them. Actually, do even. I think tier 1 subs do block pre-roll ads, right, guys in chat? You guys can confirm. I think it does. I don't think I have to watch ads when I open Maynard's stream. It's one of the few people I'm like always sub to. Yeah, it does. It does block the pre-rolls, but Twitch Prime blocks nothing now. And yeah, okay, fair enough.
Okay, gotcha.
Anyways, tell us when the ad's done.
Good. You're good to go.
We're good? Okay, cool. So right now, your worker count is pretty sick, right? Unfortunately, it's not that crazy, right? Because we're missing a few in the main, but that's okay. Which I think you did click up there. Did we? Oh, not yet. You fix that later. Anyways, imagine 16 of these workers are on the 3rd. So we're like, oh, cool, I'm hitting 3 base saturation. Sometimes you might even wait until you've got 20, 22, 23, 24 workers on this 3rd, which a lot of people see that big red number and they go, no, I'm being inefficient. It's fine. It's fine. Your Zerg, you've got a shitload of structures that still need building. Each structure uses a drone. So technically, if we don't take our gases yet, we could drone our 3rd to 40 workers out of 16 and be fine. Now, we're not going to do that because we're going to be taking structures at the same time and putting them all onto gas and that sort of stuff. But I just want to put that in perspective for you, because a lot of Zergs see a fully saturated 3rd base and go, oh, I must be pretty much done droning for the 3 base portion of this game. And that is not the case at all. Just keep that in your head. So the marker is about 20 plus workers on this 3rd base. Fully saturated 3rd. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically say it's time to take every single gas. So what we'll do is probably start in the main, and I'll go, cool. Grab the hatchery, right click on the minerals, take the gas. Go to the natural, grab the hatchery, right click on the minerals, because all their rally points are at the 3rd minerals at this point, remember. Take both gases. Go to the 3rd, grab the hatchery, change the rally point, take both gases. And what this means is all the future drones coming out are naturally going where they're needed. So if we think about it, the 3rd might be a little oversaturated, but we're going to take 2 gases there. That's fine. Natural, it's only at 16 workers, but it's going to have more drones coming out. That'll help replace the ones that are going on gas and then the 6 that are going onto it. So if we think about it, there's 8 drones going into these gases. 2 to make the extractors, 6 to mine. Same up at the 3rd. 8 drones into that. In the main, just 4, because it's only 1 gas. But you're going to drop those Evos. That's another 2. That's 6. Hydroden, 7. Maybe a Spore Crawler if it's not down, or a Spire, or whatever other shit goes down. Essentially, you're going to end up chewing up heaps of extra drones. But I really like this technique of going through and changing the rally points, because often if we don't do that, we end up being like, cool, take the gases, start putting them off. And our 3rd has like 30 workers plus the good guys on gases. And our main and natural are both on like 10 workers on minerals once we put the workers on gas, if that makes sense.
Yeah, my main, I noticed I have to do that. I always end up low on my main.
Yeah, and the other thing we sometimes get sucked into doing as a Zerg, which we don't want to do too much because it's inefficient. It's not bad if we're really APM strained, but I'm sure you've done this, where you like take a gas, then you're like, oh, I don't want to pull workers off here. So you just select all your hatcheries and you go build drone, 3 drones, and then you right click on the gas. And then it's random where those drones got built. So you might have just built 3 drones on your 3rd base, which are then going to rally up onto that gas. And you might have done the same thing on your 3rd, and those drones built in your main and go and you're basically getting all this unnecessary running back and forwards with your drones, which if you're in a really high pressure game, there's lots going on, totally fine, right? Because APM is your resource that's really short. So you'll see me doing this in game. Sometimes because I'm being lazy, usually because I'm under pressure and it makes sense to do it. You'll sometimes see me manually click a hatchery and do it, where I'm like, no. Oh, this hatchery has enough lava. Click it, build drones just out of it, and then click them on the gas. Lots of little manual adjustments, but generally speaking, that first technique I talked about is the easiest way to take these gases.
Done.
Okay. So that's the first thing that we're missing is 3 base saturation and the fact that we keep droning really hard through this portion. So at this point, you hadn't built that many extra lings yet, so I'm okay with a few extra lings. You're going up to 16, that's cool. But we want to keep droning for another minute or so here, another minute or two, right? And that's something you, in your games, have always been freezing up at 50 drones, and then you're kind of like adding some tech, and then you're kind of adding a gas, and then another gas, and then you're kind of realizing at some point, wait, I'm only at 45 workers, and you're going, oh, shit, and then you're building drones at like the 7-8 minute mark. And this has been pretty consistent in your games. So by doing this, you're just going to make sure your mineral income never drops, your gas income is going to explode a lot faster. And what is naturally happening at this point, we're floating a shitload of minerals, even as we're putting guys on gas, right? Minerals are going to start to stack up. So all we need is a list of structures. That's it. We don't need exactly 4 minutes 36 or exactly when the layer finishes, go for this and this. All we need is an order those structures go down. So the structures that we need are macro hatch and 4th base. We need double evo. You've already got a Bane nest down pretty quick as at 4 minutes by default. But we're going to delay that layer a little bit. We don't need you to rush that layer. You've been rushing that. Double evo, layer, then hydrogen. That's it. So what order do you want to do all those structures in that I've just mentioned?
Whatever one the legend says is the best. I can put any of them in place. So whatever one you think is best.
Let's just do it the order I wrote it. I think that's fine. We'll see. Yeah, macro hatch and 4th base, right? Even though you're taking gases, you're maintaining full mineral saturation the whole time. So it's like, bam, straight into that 4th base, get the macro hatch down as well. Then we go double evo, layer, and hydrogen. Obviously, hydrogen can just go down as soon as the layer's done because we're going a pretty late layer, kind of after the evos. So the important thing here is hitting 66 drones, getting our gases up, getting our 4th and our macro hatch. So we're going to be really focused on being able to flood crazy amounts of Ling Bane. And once we get all that up smoothly, it's just going to be about spending money. So the problem for you here is, you said, okay, things went well, and they did for the opening, but this is very early for us to be floating money, right? Super early, right? And let's see if we ever get on top of that. So if you're ever floating more than 1,500 minerals, do you have a rule for that situation to help you deal with it?
No, I change. I make different decisions every time. Sometimes I'm like, hey, just go take another base. Just go take another base right now. But that's rule.
Let's just take 2 macro hatches or / extra bases, right? For either one. Basically, you just need 2 extra hatcheries immediately, the moment you're floating extra money. And what are the other things that we do? If we're floating minerals, it means our production keeps hitting a standstill, right? So there's a few things. More overlords. The number of times we see someone realize they've hit a supply block late and be like, oh shit, and they Q3 overlords, and I'm like, dude, you've already got 1,500 minerals. Like, by the time these overlords pop, you can have 2,500. Like, build 10 overlords right now and just make sure you don't get supply block for the next couple minutes, okay?
I've actually been trying really hard to do that because I saw you tell someone else that, and I was like, you know what? Screw it. If I have 1,500, why am I being chintzy with my overlord?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. You might be like, oh, well, technically it's a risk because I've already slowed down my production and that's going to slow down my units coming out even. Most of the time it's going to be like, you just need to get a move on with spending that money is the most important thing. You need to get a move on with just spending that money. So I often talk about how floating 2,000 minerals is not a big deal in a game. Look at your income right now. 2,500 minerals a minute. You're not even at 3 base full saturation. If you saturated a 4th mineral line as well, I often do that. People are like, Pig, you floated 2,000 minerals in that game. And I'm like, okay, person in Twitch chat who's fucking just staring at the numbers in the top right of the screen. Did you notice I was running banelings into 3 mineral lines at the same time while microing mutas between 2 bases? And they're like, yeah, but you floated 2,000 minerals. And I'm like, that was on 4 mineral lines. That's literally like 35 seconds of not spending my money. That's barely longer than a lava inject timer. If you actually think about the game in terms of how it scales, if you're floating 2,000 minerals, 2,500 minerals at the 4-minute mark, yes, it's terrible. It's really fucking bad. If you're doing that at the 4 or 5 base stage while microing and prioritizing the army you've spent all game building, you're getting advantages, you're denying your opponent's economy, it's not a big deal. So here at this stage, we see money floating when there's no pressure. We're not doing anything. That's something we need to fix. If this is happening 4 minutes from now, in the midst of a big back and forth game, I don't give a shit about you floating 2,000 minerals, all right? So put that in perspective. You see 2,000 minerals later in the game, we do not care. If you got lots of bases, lots of money, that's cool. That just means you're mining well. It means you're focusing your army correctly. But here, when nothing's happening, that's where we want to make sure we're like just spending that money like crazy.
Gotcha.
Cool, man. I like this because this is just really giving you a next step for the build. And this is something I want you to really just think about what we just did. You had a really tight execution. There's some improvements, but very tight up to a certain point. There's always improvements, right? There's always little things we can improve. And then you didn't really know what you were doing from that point, okay?
That's 100%. Yep.
The moment there's a question mark, like, wait, what do I do here? I want you to get really kind of good at honing in on those. ZvP, ZvZ. Oh, at this point, I don't know what the next step is. And it can be, even when you win a game, that's the winning move, is if you identify that after winning a game. You're like, actually, in this game, I won, but there was this point where I was unsure what I was doing. And that's something I've become very focused on doing in my own plays. I'm always like, ooh. I didn't know what the next step was. Even though I won, let's watch the replay and let's have a little think about this. What do I think should be the correct move next time? And I list it out in my head. So I might be like, okay, I didn't know when my tech goes down, like for you here. And I might look back at the build and go, okay, all right, we need to come up with a timer. Okay, just maybe it's just as I start floating money, I start bam, bam, bam. I do it in this order. Or maybe it's like, not right on 5 minutes every game. I'm going to swap all these tech structures down all at the same time. But by looking back at it, you would have noticed, oh, wait, I don't know when my gases go down as well, right? So that's something, you know, oh, I actually had no idea when my gases went down. Wait, do I go Evo Chamber first, or do I try to go Lair and Fast Hydra and Bane Speed upgrades? Just, and it's not even about is one right, is one wrong. It's literally just as long as you choose one and you stick with it, you'll suddenly like have so much more confidence, and it'll be like you're pulling into your bag of tricks and just executing a set play. So next time you notice any kind of indecision in your play in a ZvP, ZvZ, do the same thing we just did and just be like, ooh, okay, there's something that I'm unsure about. Let's become sure about it. Let's be really confident and just choose a direction.
Sure.
Awesome, man. Yeah, so looking at that last fight, I just want you to tell me, leading up to this fight, so this stage of the game, we can look at it, we can analyze. So what do you reckon with this fight? Are you winning the game before this fight happens? Are you losing the game? Who's ahead, who's behind?
I think I'm behind because I got behind on my droning. So I'm feeling like I probably got to take a good fight, and I definitely have to stop this without taking any more damage.
So give me some.
Then,
so go through. So you said you're behind. Let's be really specific because there's a few separate areas of StarCraft. So normally you want to try and think of it first of all in terms of economy, right? That's the big thing. Ignoring this push, economically, are you ahead or behind?
Behind.
Okay. How much? Like, would you say? Like, just explain the numbers for me. Do you think you're very behind?
I would think I'm just behind because he's on 3 base. I'm on 3 base. He has mules, and I haven't done anything with my 4th yet. Like, I am on 4 bases, I guess, but not mining.
Yep.
I just feel like he probably has more money than me coming in because of the mules. So whatever the mule bonus is, I guess.
Well, if you look at the work account, that's actually way more important for you to look at here as well, because how
70 to 57.
How many workers can you use effectively on 3 bases?
I guess 48 plus 18, so 66.
Yep. So it's 22 a base, remember? So 16 on minerals, 6 on gas. And you can technically make use of about another 4 workers on minerals. So technically you could go up to like 75 drones on 3 base and they're still giving some effectiveness. But we just like to think of it in nice clean numbers, like the most efficient workers. So 66 is a good mark. So 66, 70 workers is kind of efficient 3 base. So where are we compared to that?
Oh, well, we're low. We're down 6.
So we're not really at 3 base economy right now. Meanwhile, he has a full 3 base, like we said, 70 workers. That's like full 3 base, right? And meals on top of that. So if you were on 70 workers right now, then you would be behind by the meal bonus. But instead, you're behind by the meals plus 13 workers. So that, to put it in, I mean, I don't have a specific number. There's a lot of by feel, right? But we can just be like, well, that's a pretty significant percentage, right? Three orbitals of mules. We can count each orbital. If they drop mules nonstop, it's something like 4 SCVs equivalency, I think. Because there's downtime, like they can't always have a mule dropping. I think it's 4. Someone can do the maths. Maybe someone in chat knows. Got any mega numbers nerds here? Let us know if anyone. And don't make it up. There's always some guy in Twitch chat he's like 7. It's 7, and you're like, don't lie. You're just making shit up. I know that's not true. But if anyone can be bothered searching that on Wikipedia, please do. Let's imagine it's like 3 workers. Okay, he's at the equivalent of 79 workers. We're at 57. We can say, okay, that's a 22 worker. Roughly 22 worker lead. Basically, Terran is a full base ahead, which is pretty significant. We can imagine he's like 3.5 base versus our 2.5 base, roughly, right? Okay, cool. So that's pretty rough. Someone says 3.1415. Is that pi?
Oh, pi?
That's just pi. That's funny. Okay, cool. So that gives us a good perspective. So economically, you are behind. What about, so I like to actually go army, but I also like to go tech, and that's kind of part of army as well, like tech and upgrades. And we'll do them all as separate categories to make it easy. This is like anytime you can go to a game, you can say at this point, I think I was in a good position, but then I fucked up. You can always freeze it at a point, go through these, check one by one and see like maybe I was ahead in this, behind in that, or maybe I was behind in everything. So army, in terms of just raw numbers, how are you doing?
Bad.
Sorry?
I don't think very well.
So do you know how to, what you're just using the standard overlay, right? By the way, for the replays?
I'm just in normal.
Cool. I use Game Hard. I like Game Hard a lot, but either way, you can go Control A.
And it shows, so we're 79, 77 right now.
Yeah, so you're almost dead even.
It's 1-1.
So yeah, so Army is actually dead even in terms of raw supply. But yeah, if we go upgrades, so yeah, so talk me through the upgrades.
He's 1-1, I believe, and I am not. Mine are only half done. Which I'm finding the Terrans are they just always going to be done 1-1 basically before me on this build though, or
maybe a little bit? Not this much. This is an epic lead that he has on you. And don't get me wrong. Remember, he did very light pressure, really fast 3rd CC off just a few Hellions poking, straight into double upgrades, Marines, tanks. There was no Banshees, no battle cruisers, no Liberators, no Hellbats. If he does any of those, his upgrades are going to be a lot slower. Okay. So the advantage against this sort of build is you should have been able to get up 70, 80 workers untouched really fast. And even if your upgrades are a little later, doesn't matter. You've got more army to make up for it. That sort of thing is often what's going to happen. But if we look here, we can just say completely objectively, he is way ahead on upgrades. He's actually more than 1 upgrade ahead of you, right? Because he's 30 seconds ahead on his 2-2 of where you are on your 1-1. So he's got a 2 upgrade advantage, which is massive. Now, what about tech? And this is one which is always a little bit flexible. I mean, we can also talk upgrades in that you've got Bane speed, right? But you don't have any Hydra upgrades yet. So your Hydras are basically dead weights at this point. They don't do shit until they have at least 1 upgrade, preferably 2. So that's something to keep in mind. You were building Hydras before they were at the point where Hydras are worth anything. And this is what every Zerg player that goes Hydra Bane does, is they always rush for the Hydras because they make a fight dominating. Like, you crush fights if you have Hydras there as well, because it adds that damage. It's really nice, right? We were just going for them just a little bit too early. And you can look at his upgrades. He has Stim and shields. Okay, he has the important upgrades there. He doesn't have any vehicle weapons or anything, but he's got the basically you've got the important Bane speed upgrade, he's got the important stim and shields. But the Hydra upgrade's a little behind, so we could be like, oh, maybe, you know, he's technically, our Hydra upgrades are a bit slow, or we can just kind of note Hydra upgrades aren't done, right? So in terms of tech, your army versus his army, do you think anyone's army is better? Is it even? What do you reckon? This is pretty subjective.
Well, to me, I guess it depends on the setup, but I think that my army can take his army. Like, I don't...
Add-on complete.
He's going to squash me unless I take a really bad headbutt.
So your army is even with his then, right? Like, if he's set up really well off creep, spread out, it's kind of hard to engage, right? But if he runs forward deep on creep, you can crush him. As we do here. Oh, he doesn't.
Yeah, and this could have even been better, but I'm happy with how...
It was a clean engagement. It was pretty good, man. I mean, he YOLO'd, right? You don't normally expect them to show up on the edge of creep and then just dive up next to hatchery. Some Terrans do this, and it's insane. Makes no sense, but they've got to have so much better macro than their opponent to win with this, which a lot of Terrans, I guess, do. So your army's even, but can definitely fight his army. So, okay, cool. So army tech was even. Upgrades are way behind. Economy, a full base ahead. He was. You were full base behind. So I think that snapshot is incredibly powerful because this tells us where we were in the game. So remember your statement when we first went into this. Felt like everything kind of went kind of your way, but you just couldn't quite finish the game. After looking at where we were before that fight happens, I think we can see, okay, clearly this was a game where we could have been in a way better position by this point. And it's the easier changes because it's not to do with learning how to defend a three-pronged harassment, which we only encounter once in a blue moon. It's all to do with our build order and our order and being really organized with it and that sort of stuff. So that's really powerful. If we see we're quite far behind economically and in upgrades by the 9-minute mark, we can go awesome. There's huge changes we can make with our build order, with our early game. That's going to carry over probably to all of our maps. So that's a very powerful thing to say, awesome, let's really hone in on that. And we know we can just be in a much more dominating position by this stage of the game.
Gotcha.
So I'm going to give you a big goal. Our goal is to get a sick enough opening that if the Terran doesn't harass us much, we can A-move their first push and be infinitely ahead. So what I mean by that is literally, I want a game like this where you see that army coming across with a Ling spotter and then you just A-move it as it gets to the edge of creep and you literally go back to injecting and you look back and you have fucking destroyed his army so incredibly hard because you had so much more stuff that you just like, and like the game is almost a free win from there. You just go into like spread creep, inject, build units, spread creep, inject, build units, wait for another push to come out or wait for a fourth, or maybe you even bust in on his defenses and you roll him. And that's something you can absolutely do because your early game macro, you're playing at a diamond 1 level up to a certain point in some regards. And then there's just this steep fall off point where we're a bit lost. I guarantee you, I've seen you play a lot better than when you know what you're doing. So for you, the big task is identifying those points where we don't know what we're doing, come up with the plan, you're going to kick some ass. So let's hop out of this replay a little bit. Or I guess we can fast forward real quick, actually. Let's just very quickly fast forward. You'll notice I very rarely watch the end of replays, right? Because I feel like it's a time sink, you know? If I find so much shit to work on, I'm like, dude, we've got so much we already found that's like so high value. I don't need to see what happens in the rest of this game. I've seen you're already getting way better at your surrounds, you know, getting your engagements.
I try another one right here, but
yeah, unfortunately the Banelings on the south weren't quite ready, and your army is so much smaller than his, right? So much smaller than his. So even though he's deep on creep, which is, that's your land, that's your ground. Like, look at the numbers before this fight. It's like blossomed even more in his favor.
And my Banes weren't even with me on the south.
Yeah.
I wish they were. It would have been... I should have waited.
But we can see, look at that. So he's still a 1-1 upgrade advantage ahead, and this time he's up 20 army supply as well, right?
Yeah.
This is fucking rough, man. And you still don't have your Hydra upgrade. It's like, oh, maybe it finishes just as the fight goes down?
I don't even think
so. It's like 4 seconds from... Yeah, so it's like not even there for half of this fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is like, this is just... You're way behind. Way behind, man. What's really cool is you're gonna have a lot of fun rolling a lot of armies once we get that opening down. That's the real power of this opening. Is it's okay to float a bit of minerals. Don't get me wrong, dude. With this build order, you will float minerals semi-regularly, but if we can tighten things up a little bit, we're going to be floating less minerals, we're going to be dominating fights more, and it's going to be awesome. So are there any Terrans around in chat who'd like to play a game? Diamond 2, Diamond 3, Platinum 1. We don't really care what you guys' league is, because what's more important right now, as long as you're within a couple hundred MMR,
My man.
is we need to like internalize what we're doing with our build, right? So we could even do this in an empty custom game, mate, and you could do that on your own, right? Anytime you play a ZvP and you're like, man, I know what I'm doing up to this point, and then fucking no idea what to do from here. Write out your little plan while watching a replay. Could just be a couple of dot points. Swap into muters, do this, right? And you could hop into a custom game and play out like your standard build, and then just get used to the rhythm of like, okay, let's imagine this attack didn't work, and now I've got to do that plan. Bam, bam, bam. This structure, take the gases so I have more gas for the muter swap, get the muters. And obviously you can't practice the diving with the muters or anything like that, but you can just, it is just something about internalizing that plan through 1 or 2 run-throughs versus an AI or no opponent that can just help it cement deep in your brain. And it's like such a useful exercise.
Gotcha, man. I'm in. I'm all in.
Awesome. I think we got a few people who want to help us out. Guys, chat channel piggy. It looks like Zerged is already here. It says, I'm a Diamond 3 Terran. Wait, Plat 1 Terran. That's fine. He wants to get Zerged, I guess.
Hopefully I do not lose this one, but we'll see.
No, that's fine. He's a Master 3 Zerg player actually as well. So, he plays all 3 races. I love that this is really cool. I guess because I play all 3 races on stream, I guess that's why there's been more and more over the last year, tons of people who play all 3 races. So this is really cool. So Terran is his weakest.
4K. Wow, sick, Zerg.
Yeah. So yeah, you can host up the map. You're the lobby leader. So any map of your choice, host one up. And
is there any particular that you think is best to do?
No, it's your call. I mean, World of Sleep is the one we just saw is like the hardest for Terran to push on. So if you want, that one technically makes it a little bit easier for yourself, but it really doesn't matter. Like I said, we could do this against an AI. It's just a map that you're comfortable on, right? Something that you just get in our rhythm, and we're about doing this order. So really, what are we changing here? Not much, man. In terms of the early defense, just try to make sure those overlords are spotting the Hellion rotation. So remember, out front the natural, out front the third with the overlords. That's the only early game change. After that, it's just remembering the trigger for when we take gases. Can you remember off the top of your head?
3 base saturation is the gases, and after the macro hatch and 4th is double evo, then the lair. So lair doesn't go till my macro and my 4th.
Yeah, and that's all going to happen really quickly. Because once your 3rd mineral line saturated, your income's insane, dude. So this is like that. This is like a point where a lot of stuff happens. Now, if he keeps you very busy with harassment, you're gonna be like behind on it, and you're gonna be like, "Oh shit, I got 2k minerals and I haven't done my macro action 4th base." That's fine as long as you're not taking damage. If he's keeping you really busy, that's okay. As long as you then go, "That's cool. I've got 2k minerals. I've taken my gases, but I haven't done anything else yet." What do we do? Macro hatch, 4th base, double evo, lair. Oh, I haven't put my Baneliness down yet. I forgot. Fuck. Throw that down. You just do it all at once because you got so much cash with this build, and it's totally cool. So like often, yeah, in my main sometimes with this build, I'll be like, oh, books the drones, macro hatch, gas, double evo, thingo. We'll try to do the gases and the buildings a bit separate. Try and get that down. But yeah, this is going to be awesome, man. You're probably going to fuck it up your first time. It's fine. It's fine. It's just about like, let's not tunnel vision on trying to do a fancy Zergling backstab. I'm a micro 6lings in his... Fuck that, right? We want you to just try to have your build order down here. It's not going to be perfect, but we want to internalize the order, right? This is us rehearsing a piece of music. We're not going off book to play some fancy jazz piece. We're trying to just do a nice little basic, get down... Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, right? Get down that, and then we can do some fancy jazz music afterwards. So, yeah, let's do the build order here. Only big changes are going to be taking those gases all at once and then exploding into the macro hatch, 4th base, double evo, and then the hydrogen when that layer's done. Should be good, man. Good luck, have fun.
Thanks, buddy.
Oh my god, insulting my Terran. Over it. Insulting it with true facts. Holy shit. So mean. Google Stagger, thanks for the 22-month resub. Angelic Nutcake with the 8-month resub. Much love, friends. I really appreciate the support. Yeah, no, my Terran's always a little bit lower. It's funny because my Protoss and Terran are both just more inconsistent than my Zerg. Whereas, like, yeah, basically, so whenever I learn a new build with Protoss or Terran, they, like, the win rate just plummets because it's often using something I have very little experience with, right? So, Oracles in PvZ, I suck balls at. Fortunately, Zergs suck just as much at defending 3 Oracle, so I've had really mixed good results with it, right? So I'm killing Zergs with Protoss with Oracles despite sucking at controlling the Oracles. Normally it's the opposite. Normally people are like, yeah, I've been playing against this unit for 6 years. They've got really good organized defense. I'm trying to learn the unit for the first time. Like I'm trying to really get into blink charge openings, which I haven't done in a long time. Yeah, like I think I used to do charge openings, but I would do it off like just a Stalker Prism Harass. Like I do like a really weird way of playing a charge opening previously. And I'm trying to learn the very traditional blink pressure opening. And I'm sucking at PVT. At the moment, I'm learning a new TVT and I'm learning a new TVP style. So my Terran dropped like 300 MMR this week. I'm down at like 5,200, man. And I'll win a few games. I'm like, I'm doing all right. And then I'll lose to someone who's like sub 5K. And I'm like, fuck, I'm losing to people who like aren't even anywhere near what I would normally be. Because like, it wasn't too long ago, I was feeling really comfortable at 5,500 MMR with Terran. And realistically, if I wanted to keep my MMR like as stable as possible, I would probably just have a much more limited skill set with Protoss and Terran, where it's more about, oh, just play the shit I know how to play, focus on execution. But because there's a mixture of liking to keep up with the meta, but also I like to keep things fresh with the variety. So I do like to give myself new challenges. I think what I've done recently and why I've been struggling so much in the last week is I am learning so many new builds. And it's like, when I think about it, I'm like, okay, that's like, I actually have given myself a pretty hard journey on that. If I was smarter, I probably would have only been working on 1 or at most 2 new builds at a time, rather than working on so many different builds across so many matchups. Because each time you're learning a new build, it just takes a lot of mental energy. So definitely could have been a bit smarter with how I practiced that. I'm pretty happy with how Spartacus is playing right now. Those Overlords are a little bit far out. Like that Overlord doesn't see shit, so...
Game paused.
Perfect opening so far. You're looking really good, man. Hope you don't mind the quick pause.
It's all good.
So, Overlords, the one out on the left is great. The one on the right, we would want that down to the right more, because it actually technically can't see any rotation around the far right side. Okay. But what's more important is out front the third, remember. So on this map, it's kind of awkward because you do have 3 paths the Hellions can come in, but the 2 main ones are out to the left, right? So what I would do with you is I would shift your left Overlord down to cover that far left path. So just move it down into the left about a screen. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
And the other one, you could shift over to take its place.
Okay.
So just double checking. Can you repeat back? Just because it's really hard to describe this shit. So I just want to make sure, because I describe this really badly sometimes.
No worries. So my Overlord there that's on the left-hand path, just move it down about a screen so it's covering the left path. And then the one that's on the right, move it to where my left one is.
Perfect. So you can replace that one on the right as well with like a new Overlord if you want. Yeah. Awesome, man. And then like, as always, your next couple of Overlords can always just go on the edges of your base, right? To like look for Banshees and shit like that, yeah? Awesome, man. Doing good. Keep it up. Good luck, good luck.
Game resumed.
Awesome. This is such a fundamental piece of any queen-focused defense in Zerg vs. Terran, guys, and it's what a lot of players never get down. They're just too disorganized with it, or they're too attracted to kind of putting it on a little high ground here or there. And Hellions really become this, they're the fucking burning, flaming Valkyries of drone death that seem to come out of nowhere like the angels from Valhalla to strike down fucking sweet justice upon your workers. But if you have Overlords and you see them coming 15 seconds ahead of time, it's a lot easier to defend with Queens and Zerglings. When you don't see Hellions coming, it's a friggin' nightmare. And Hellions seem really OP. You gotta have that vision, guys. Can you get away with Queen defense in ZvP, says Ratman? Yeah, a lot of people like to go just Queen Ling. It's very risky against any charge lot Archon sort of all-in attack if you don't swap into like roaches soon enough. But if you get away with it, it's pretty sexy. It's really good against like Stargate openings that don't follow up with any sort of crazy ground all-in. So it's good shit.
Our forces are under attack.
All right. Spores going down right on time. No queen, no creep out front there. So I like tumor, but because he's got, what are these two tumors doing, guys? Nothing. Would much rather one tumor there, right? So this tumor here, he could have spread that there. That would have connected the bases and then could go off in that direction. And then he could have just put one fresh tumor there. And with 3 tumors, he could have done a bit more than what he's done here. But notice this, look at that. The queens are rotating. I'm so aroused right now. This Marines are so funny. They won't do shit. These queens are going to take him to Dicktown. Get out of my base, man. Hey, he gets an Overlord. Who cares? Oh, he's drone. Please keep droning in the midst of this. This is some just I'm trying to throw you off shit, man. Yeah, this is what we call some off-race shit right here, man. Some off-race shit. He could surround those Hellions as well, but he's focusing on his build, so I'm okay with that. Now, he's gone for all the gases a little bit early, guys, but he remembered to change the rally points. Yeah, Ryerson's, or Spartacus, sorry, is actually really fucking, like, he just looks like a different player when he knows what he's doing. It's when he loses direction that he suddenly looks more his level. But when he knows what he's doing, he does look better than a Diamond 3. And I think all players are like this, right? When you know what you're doing, you're like, bam, I'm hitting this, I'm hitting that, I'm hitting that. You know, it's all good. You're kicking ass, man. You've put guys on gas. Macro hatch 4th base. And we can go 2 macro hatches even since we're floating money, which is no worries. We can do that as normal. And then you can get all your tech down. You're kicking ass, man. Keep it up. Remember to build lots of extra overlords as well once that tech's down, because your income is shooting through the roof. This is awesome. Look at this, guys. 64 drones at 6 minutes 30. Did he forget the Baneling Nest being down super fast? Yes. Do you need a Baneling Nest? No, because he's got 8 queens. He'll defend most things. If he just transfuses and uses his shit properly, like, he can absolutely win. You're kicking ass. Remember, from here, it's just non-stop Ling Bane and Overlord production. Tons of Overlords. We never want to get supply blocked from here, so your next big round will just be Overlords. And put Ling spotters all over the map when your Lings come out. So once your Lings are out, we want Lings on every possible expansion on the Watchtowers, and we want to just get in this rhythm of non-stop Ling Bane production, spreading creep, injecting, and steadily adding those Hydra upgrades and that Bane speed. But you are in control of this game. It's all just a battle of keeping your production rhythm and your creep spread up from here. Good luck. He's just gonna he's gonna aim at his opponent so fucking easily, guys. This is actually gonna be like the biggest shit show ever. I'm really impressed with how he executed it. There wasn't heavy pressure. No heavy pressure from opponent. So you fucking shat on his macro early game and got way ahead. I'm not afraid to say it, guys. Even if all you people watching at home didn't, bad Overlord placement. I have a macro boner right now. You guys might not appreciate some good macro from a player who's been struggling with it as much as me. I have a macro boner. I'm not afraid. You guys probably should as well, back at home. There's nothing wrong being a little bit turgid for some good macro. Pig being a weirdo aside, let's see if he can find his rhythm here again. We don't need to inject those necessarily. You just want to, yeah. Yeah, you don't need to do that shit.
Game paused.
You're looking really good, but you did just start injecting individual queens on macro hatches. Big waste of time. Remember, you only need to inject 3 queens. If you're going to start injecting 7 queens, you're stealing APM from what you should be focusing on. Remember, we want to dump all this extra queen energy into that 4th and those macro hatches, and then just focus on creep spread, backstabbing, Ling spotters everywhere, engaging his army out in the middle. Don't let him go get some abusive siege position, and just massing army. We're at the stage where we have some fucking scary units, man. We need Baneling speed. So
Yeah,
Baneling
shit.
speed and queuing those injects, and that's fine. You can win with mostly Zerglings. You just need a few Banelings in there as well. But if you have enough Zerglings, you can win with pure Zergling in this army until he's maxed. So only when he gets like 80 Marines all in a big ball that they'll beat Zerglings. So you're doing really good, man. Just, yeah, get the Bane speed, dump the injects, and get back on track. You're kicking ass.
Thanks, buddy.
Let's do it.
Game resumed.
He hasn't spread creep in several minutes, guys. I know. I know about it. I know it's a very, very important. Overlord on right, misplaced.
Depleted.
Should put extra OVs or Lings way further on the edges to spot drops
Mutation
in the mid game.
complete. Our forces are under attack.
Need to spread creep in all directions, not just individual tumors.
Our forces are under attack.
Be organized, not haphazard. If you let yourself be haphazard, like he just went, oh, there's a creep tumor. He spread a creep tumor. Then he came back a few seconds later and spread another creep tumor. These have not been spreading. That has not been spreading. And he's not asserting his map control right now. Does he have 2 squads of Ling Bane? Yeah, he's got a drop defense squad and his main army. But he's still not asserting map control. He's gone 2-2. Has he got his Hydra upgrades? No. Other Hydra upgrade? You're doing really good, but that other Hydra upgrade is something you should pretty much always queue up and finish maxing out here and get that map control. You should see everything on this map. You're almost maxed. It's time to go look for fights, look for backstabs. If you don't want to attack front on, you split half your army. You hit the 3rd while the other army attacks the 4th. But it's your turn. You're maxed out to go kick some fucking ass. Let's kill some Terran, man. Good luck. Like, there's just, yeah. Like, he's taken a bit longer than he should. He should have been killing him already. Look at the supply differential, guys. Easiest win of his life.
Forces are under
Easiest win of his life. Just holding down that macro machine. Holding down that macro machine. Oh, he's hitting 2 fronts, but he's not microing. There we go. Okay, a little slow. There's a base there that's completely open. So why is he attacking through the middle? Makes no sense, right? It's a really bad attack. Why is half of his army here? So he's getting a bit confused with his control groups. Wait. These units aren't control grouped. Okay, cool. So, this is important.
metamorphosis.
When split pushing, still rally your army, still rally your eggs towards one part of your army. You took way too long to reorganize after a fight.
Forces
Remember to push to separate locations.
mineral field depleted.
Your attack from the right basically was right next to the attack from the left. Only do that if it's an organized pincer. And what does that mean, guys? Hitting at the exact same time with everything and aiming to crush their army. But his attack was not a pincer. Why? Because he went in here, then pulled back, then went in there, then pulled back, then went in there, then pulled back. He was doing it as if he was setting up a run-by, going for the economy, finding the weak edges. If you're going for a pincer movement on their army, you're looking to come in from both sides at the same time and brutally crush them. Now, is he still going to pull it off? Fuck yeah, of course. Easiest win of his life. Easy. He's got so much more shit than his opponent, man. So much more shit.
Our forces are under attack.
He just crushed it.
Mineral field depleted.
What can Terran use? Rapid fire for snipe, liberator, siege ups. That's about it. You don't need to use it for much. Holding down the marine key. Well, that's not rapid fire, sorry, but that's just having a good repeat rate. I believe the correct term is, in your voice, crab claw. I love Neura's crab obsession.
Mineral field depleted.
It's the best, man. So, He's thinking about an infestation pit, and now his whole army's blobbed up. So why is his whole army blobbed up on one path, guys? Why isn't he attacking from 2 separate sides? So notice he's setting up a spread, but he's still attacking from the same angle. So that's what we call a lazy spread. He should be attacking from a different path. A lot of people do this. They spread everything a huge amount, and then they attack through the one area anyway. So it's like, well, I mean, your units were a little spread out before you went through the choke, but it could have been spread more. When he leaves, don't leave. Always rewind. GG. Yeah, this was great. So rewind. Sorry, you might cut out there. You said that was...
I obviously screwed. I don't know how to. I fucked up splitting my army against that third, so I just didn't do it again. Or against the fourth, I guess.
Oh, when you were trying to attack him?
Yeah, when I was trying to attack like his front base there, and then I just screwed up the whole split.
Normally, I'd get you to analyze this yourself, you know, if you've just played a ladder game. But we are out of time, so just open the stream up, and I will look at that fight quickly. I wrote a whole bunch of notes for you to read and watch through. Before we get to breaking down small mistakes here and there, dude, you fucking killed it. This is a different Spartacus. Honestly, I think everyone in the chat as well is like, that was a different Zerg playing that game. You crushed him, man. You just exploded into getting so much more economy up, getting all that tech up, and you had so much more shit than your opponent. And the thing is, this game did not look vastly different to that opponent you played on that. Don't be like, oh, it's just an easier match. I'm sure he played a little different. But like, there was so many little details from your queens rotating at the start and just deflecting those Hellions and shutting them down to, to the fact that you just took all your gases and your money got spent. Like this point, I cannot emphasize the difference enough, dude. Where you're, you know, I was like, I think I felt like you took your gases maybe slightly earlier than I would have. It didn't really matter though, because like, that takes a lot of APM. What I loved is that you changed the rally points on every hatchery. You did that technique, you took the gases. And like, it's a real busy point in the build, but you did it really nicely whilst your queens were kind of rotating around and defending. You know, you were kind of getting in the habit of that. Your lings came down. You know, we're not super fast at everything. We could be faster, and then we're like, oh shit, we're floating minerals. But we spend 15 drones, and then we go, okay, macro hatch, 4th base, evos, etc. That's all going to go down at once. Now, let's double check there. It's just slightly slow, so let's go to your camera. We always want to check this, especially with a new build. It's easy to do awkward mechanical habits. So we're going to look at your main in a sec, and let's watch what we click on. So, do we box a whole ton of drones? No. You're individually clicking drones. Terrible habit. So, if you've got to build a bunch of structures, always box a whole bunch of the drones. Build BH click, build Evo, build Evo. Whereas what you were doing is you went click drone, build hatch, click drone, build hatch, click. And then I think you might select 2 at once for the Evos. Let's see. Do we do it? We go lair. No, and then we select individual drones for the Evos as well. Do you ever box all the drones?
So when you do that, like they won't all start heading that way?
Nope. Only the ones that you build.
The fuck?
My man! Oh my god, it's the first time you've heard of this mechanic. Dude, this is a life changer. Whenever you're taking down multiple gases at a base, you should be boxing them. You were doing that with your... That's why you were taking a few seconds longer with your gases as well. You were individually clicking them. Yeah, just box like a bunch of the drones that are close by. Oh my god, this is a life changer. Dude, you just saved so much APM. This is awesome. This is what I love about StarCraft.
Like sometimes when I'm getting the gases, I'll grab 2 drones because I know they're grabbing 2 buildings, but I didn't know you can over grab the drones without them all walking over there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So if there's any Terran players watching, I always do this. I'm a bit lazy with it, where I might box the whole mineral line sometimes. And that's bad with Terran, because with Terran, the SCV doesn't go into the structure. So you have to give a shift click back to the minerals. And that means any extra SCVs you've built, at some point after they've mined their minerals, they're going to go touch that mineral patch that you've queued them back to. So it just wastes a little bit of their mining time.
Oh, gotcha.
But that doesn't affect us as a Zerg because our drone never comes out of the building. So yeah, it's only because it'll just a single guy will get the build, and this makes so much. You just box a bunch of drones, BE click, box drones, BE click, BE click, BVV, BH.
I thought they'd all walk over there, only one of them would build it, and I was like, well, that's stupid.
This is a life-changing mechanic because this is going to give you like 0.3% boost of effectiveness, but it's going to do it in every game you ever play. And that's actually huge. People are like, oh, that's not a 0.3. I'm like, in every single game, every strategy, even when you're getting cheesed and then you defend it and you're trying to macro up and you're like a bit nervous and you're fucking misclicking your drones. Hells yes, save you lots of APM. Always box multiple drones for building structures.
Actually, I can practice that easily.
Okay, final point here.
It's almost harder to click on individual.
Oh, absolutely. It's way harder, dude. Whenever I see people trying to click on individual Zerglings, you ever see someone trying to select a Zergling that's running on creep? It's one of the funniest. They're like, oh, missed it, missed it, missed it. I'm like, use your bottom wireframe. What are you doing? Use your fucking wireframe, man. So this drop surprised you because your Overlord wasn't in position on the right-hand side. It was off to the left. Lazy positioning. We also didn't have a proper Overlord on the left. We've got these random Overlords that are... Well, actually, sorry, that one's fine. This one is a lazy Overlord. It should be down here. And then in the mid-game, we should always... Depending on the map, sometimes you can just put Zerglings out on these edges to spot drops. Or an Overlord, depending on the map. Sometimes there's lots of dead space on the edges. But that's always good. Like around the mid-game when there's not really a Viking running around the edges, always good to spot those drops ahead of time. But the big one we want to talk about is when you split your army. And you did a really good job with splitting your army. But we got a bit confused. There's two different ways of splitting your army. One is a pincer attack, or the crab claw, as Neuro calls it. And that is where you want to collapse on their army and annihilate it. It's about finding an army versus army fight and fucking them up, right? So in that case, it would be if this army on the left came in, maybe from here as well, and you came in on this at the exact same time as the army on the right, and you're looking to collapse on that. But you did this kind of separately. Maybe it's because you didn't know this base was here. Whatever happened, this kind of was looking more like it was a backstab attack, which this army on the right shouldn't have been here. It should have been down all the way on the right. So you're attacking from the two distant most points, right? So there's attacking two very different areas, right? Which is great because they can't really chase down a Hydra Bane army. If Marines stim towards Hydra Bane, you A-move, they've got to run backwards away from the Banelings, right? Their tanks can't chase you down in siege mode. So you can attack from this top side. Oh, their army's here. You pull this side back. The army runs in from the bottom side and you kill the fourth base. Or vice versa. Basically, half your army engages where they're weak and the other half pulls back from their army that reacts to it.
Gotcha.
But we kind of went in with one side of the pincer claw, took a lot of a fight. And then this other army, if it ran north, would have been great. But we kind of went in on his army.
Yeah,
and so we let it...
times.
Yeah. So we did the epileptic crab, whereas, you know, one claw comes in, we let him fight that, and then when that claw's gone, we came in with the other one. But it didn't matter. You had tons of shit, and you overwhelmed him. So some dominating Zerg versus Terran there. So I still recommend maybe play a game and practice just once or twice, just to remember, like, oh, take the gases, get that habit down of taking all those gases at once, get the habit of building the structures. But then also just like in the mid game, just that rhythm of just spread creep, bam, spread creep, bam, and get that gigantic army out. You looked a lot more comfortable there, and the big thing that's going to change here is because you have more shit, because you're continuing your macro further, you will crush armies a lot easier. So even here, I can still see you're a little bit unsure with your army at some point. So with defending drops and you're kind of looking at things a little bit more.
Finally hit Diamond 2 yesterday in large part because of watching your stuff. Thank you for your great work.
Let's congratulate. Do you want to give a congratulations as well, Spartacus, to John? He just got Diamond 2. And
ooh,
he just
sick.
took $5. Congratulations, John. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, and thank you for the $5 tip. Congratulations, mate. That's amazing. So yeah, just to finish up Spartacus, yeah, hopefully we'll hear a message from you about that promotion in the near future. If you can keep practicing maybe with this player a few more games or anyone else who wants to play against you, that would be awesome. So I'm going to suggest a few people to party that are still hanging out in the channel. They might, a few of them are say they're Diamond 3 Terran, Diamond 3 Random, etc. Maybe invite them all in, add to friends, get yourself a bunch of Terran practice partners, and you can get some really nice, concentrated practice going. Perfect. I'm in.
Awesome. Hey, I want to give a thanks to Zerg for playing his off race there against me. That was sweet. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Zerg. Guys, add to friends. Have a good day. Awesome. All right, I'll let you guys practice. I'm going to dive out of that party now. All right, hit me up in a few days or whenever you think you know when you want to do the next session, man, and we'll dive into it. But I think this is really going to take you to that next step now. Your army management's gotten a lot better with the Hydra Bane. I loved your drop defense squad splitting up on the right while your main army was on the left in that early game. Keep up that stuff. Now that we add a little bit more macro behind it, we can take the next leap in Zerg vs Terran.
Awesome, man. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
All right, have a good night, brother.
You too. Enjoy the stream.
Beautiful. That was huge, guys. That's huge. That was huge. Huge. Okay. Yeah, I think that was a good little coaching sesh there. So, finding points of indecision and being and refining a plan. Coaching ZvT Diamond 3. I think that's a good little sesh. Don't know if it helps everybody, but I think we got to see the evolution. There's a nice little story in that game of kind of how far he went with a bit of that practice, which is great. Really makes me happy.